What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. As we approach the halfway, almost three-quarter way of the season at this point, we are going to be doing some nice fun builds for y'all, whether it be for that end game or just for the pure enjoyment of going into a normal strike, crucible, and slapping out everything in your path. So saying that, today we're going over a super fun PvP Titan build that takes advantage of our new Strand subclass, as well as the classic Dunemarchers inside of the Crucible. Yes, they did get nerfed back about 6 months ago with the double chaining because they were broken, but with this build, so much fun to use since we have triple melees on our Titan, and we have that grapple to also use that melee that is powered from that as well. So starting out right here for our abilities, aspects, and fragments, we're going to be playing this so we can get that nice chaining of melees together and proc our Dunemarchers so we can just set everything off on those arc chains while using this Strand subclass, creating tangles, etc. So first off, we're going with Towering Barricade and our Strafe Lift. You could use Catapult if you want to get a little bit of that quicker initial burst, but I personally like Strafe Lift. Now we're going with Frenzy Blade so we get that triple of them, and we have that severing effect as well on enemies when we get those final blows. Now you could use any grenade you really want, but I personally went with grapple for this build because, like I said, you can use that to attach to an enemy and you get that additional charged melee, if you will, that comes from the grapple that doesn't count towards something like your Frenzy Blade. So this adds to it, and it does proc initial overload for those Dunemarchers. Now right here, when we move on to our aspects, we have Into the Fray. So destroying tangles or casting your super grants us Woven Mail for nearby allies. So those tangles we're going to get from those triple melees somewhat consistently, a little bit harder on Titan than something like our Hunter, where we can use that suspend way more often in its dodge. Now right here, we're also using Drenger's Lash, so when we do activate our class ability, we can suspend enemies that also damage it. Not as good as the air move for Hunters, but this does come in handy in those clutch little situations, especially when you got one of those shotgun apes running after you. You can kind of slide, turn backwards, throw it up, they're going to be suspended, not knowing what hit them. Now starting out for our fragments right here, definitely for Strand and PvP, doesn't have the same kind of synergy as these fragments do for PvE, but I still think this is built out nearly as good as it can be. So we're going with Thread of Continuity, so that suspend from our class ability, as well as that sever lasts longer from our melee. Next off, we're going with Thread of Generation, so that is why we only have 20 on our grenade energy and discipline for our grapple, because when we deal damage, we're going to get that energy back. So when we're doing those chains in melees and getting defeats, we're going to get our grapple back very quick anyways. Next off right here, we got Thread of Isolation, so landing rapid precision hits emits a severing burst from those targets, so this is nice for that sixes and that nice ad clear off of those zones, if you will, for those guardians when they're trying to capture A, B, or C. That little severing effect, with the addition of having it last longer in the continuity fragment, it is a nice little addition because you're trying to hit headshots anyway inside of the Crucible. And last but certainly not least right here, we have Thread of Propagation, so those powered melee final blows grant our Strand weapons unraveling rounds, which we are using a Strand auto rifle for our kinetic weapon. So we have those unraveling rounds which just add to the insaneness of the Crucible, and sixes, which we can create more of those tangles and get Woven Mail, get our melee back faster. Nice little positive feedback loop. Like I said, very fun for sixes inside of the Crucible. Chaining that lightning everywhere with Dunemarchers, you get tangles, and it is just so much fun. Now for our weapons right here, you can really go with whatever you're feeling inside of these two slots for our energy and heavy. Now for our kinetic, I went with Rufus Fury here. Definitely looking for a better role for PvP, but this thing still absolutely slaps. The reason though I went with Rufus's Fury is for that Strand, like I said, to create severing effects, plus we can get those tangles and unraveling rounds. Now we have other options with Perpetualis, as well as something something like Immortal. Also Strand in the kinetic slot, SMG auto rifle, very good options. Now for me, with this Titan build, definitely running either shotguns in this, or if you're running an SMG, just something that'll keep up with the game. I do like running my 120s with an SMG in that slot, but I was running either this duality or found verdict because you're getting up close and personal with this build to get that chain of lightning from the Dunemarchers. So that's why I was running a shotgun, so you can go in, one shot somebody with that melee, get that chain, turn on them, hit a couple shotgun shots from a little farther away, and bada bing, you just had a 4-piece without even trying. And then again, circular logic, tomorrow's answer, whatever you want for a heavy. I personally like the circular logic just for the addition of ammo, but tomorrow's answer is a very good PvP rocket in my opinion. Tracking and 100 blast radius, can't really beat that. Now again, for these armor mods right here, I stacked them out to help with the targeting on our Rufus's Fury, mostly. So obviously right here, we're going to have that strand targeting to help with our auto rifle, as well as keep up with that 100 on resilience and 100 on strength. Now next off on our arms right here, we're going to have strand loader, strand dexterity, as well as impact induction. So the strand loader and dexterity, obviously for our Rufus's Fury, and impact induction, causing damage with those melee attack, reduces our grenade cooldown. So all of those melee attacks that we're getting to proc Dunemarchers, and with that grapple, is going to give us our grenade energy back when we do damage, allowing us to have that grapple back even faster, as well as having that thread of generation in our fragment. Now next right here, we're going to have unflinching strand aim, of course, for that Rufus's Fury, just making it an absolute laser beam inside of the Crucible. Now right here, the Dunemarchers, the OG Titan exotic really for the Crucible, making you slide a little bit farther, and just the classic look on these boys. So we have linear actuators, increase our sprint speed. Sprinting builds a static charge. After a melee attack on an enemy, it chains to damage nearby enemies. So that is why we're using this with that triple melee and grenade. Triple melee and grapple on that, just so we can get that chaining everywhere. And with those little jolts on that triple melee, you can get out of situations actually quick and hit some pretty crazy distances on those melee swipes. Now for our mods on this, we're going with double recuperation. So when we pick up orbs of power, we're going to replenish health, so we can just stay alive a little bit longer in some of those nice engagements, since we are going to be up close and personal with this build very often. And then we're going to have kinetic holster, so it just stores our kinetic weapon in that Rufus's Fury and has that nice little reload when we're using our shotgun, something like that. Last but not least, we have Reaper and Bomber. So when we cast our barricade, we're going to get our grenade back in that grapple, as well as our next weapon defeat is going to spawn that orb of power, which helps us proc that recuperation on our boots, as well as get our super back a little bit faster as well. So this build, like I said, very fun to use inside of the Crucible, and those 6s especially, not as overpowered as something like an Arc Titan in those 3s where it really shines, but this build definitely for 6s, one of my favorites to use because of that chaining of the Dunemarchers and that lightning, and you're just playing the Titan how it should be with the shotguns backing up the chains. It is a blast to use. So hopefully y'all enjoy this build. Very fun Titan build for those 6s using our new subclass. Definitely the most overused subclass for Titan is Arc, so it's nice to switch it up a little bit. So definitely, again, thanks for that support. Truly appreciate it. I'll catch y'all in the next one.